In the year 1982, Tokyo is suddenly invaded by unknown underground life forms who begin to wreak havoc by digging holes under the city. In order to exterminate these newly discovered beings known as Pukas and Figures and solve the crisis, a man named Taizo Hori is called to the scene. Now, it's unknown why he specifically was sent to do this, not even he seems to know anyway, but to this end he is equipped with a hyper-electromagnetic drill, a special drill that functions on applied hyper-electromagnetic theory, which was conceptualized by the brilliant Dr. Z. Dr. Z proposed the theory of studying drill engineering alongside his colleague/friendly rival Dr. Manhole. Actually, the two proposed the theory at the exact same time, but the media completely took Dr. Z's side of the matter and framed Manhole as a plagiarist. Z made some efforts to defend his friend to the press, but it was in vain and Manhole eventually exiled himself from society. I'm sure that won't come up again. Back to Taizo's story. This drill was also equipped with an air pump, which served to fill the monsters full of air and explode them. A little gruesome if you ask me. Taizo is successful in this endeavor and single-handedly saves Tokyo from the creatures. This event became known as the Dig Dug incident of 1982 and made people realize that an occupation was probably needed for future incidents like this. That's how drillers came to be, as well as the founding of the Drillers Association itself. Let's talk about the association. It's a presumably independent international organization that regulates the driller world and hands out the licenses required to operate those special drills I mentioned earlier. To earn a license, you have to graduate from one of the many specialized training institutions around the world. Of course, you can use a drill without a license, but it's like driving a car without a license. It's illegal. The association is headed by Taizo himself, its honorary chairman/president, who goes around the planet in search of young potential drillers to enroll in these institutions. Besides him, there's also the Driller Council, the association's highest-ranking executives, who each earned their place in it by becoming Mr. Drillers themselves. A Mr. Driller is a highly prestigious title given only to the best of drillers, who have to pass a 160-point test of technical ability, physical strength, sense, and personality at a selection held once every 3 years. They must also be validated by the council itself before getting the title. Taizo was the first Mr. Driller, but quite a few had followed him, including a dead dog, a vampire, a psychic, an android, and a whole lot more. Among these is also Dr. Z, who is now the director of the association's driller laboratory as well. And this place is in charge of general driller research and is located in a rather inconspicuous spot of Tokyo. Still in 1982, Taizo would meet and marry Masuyo Tobi, aka Kissy, a member of the UGSF Space Cavalry. That's the United Galaxy Space Force, which is a whole other can of worms we'll get into later. Masuyo gained that nickname because of her habit of kissing people while drunk, and is notable for being responsible for liberating Planet Passage from Octi Dominion during the Baraduke Fortress assault. So, there's a few noteworthy differences between Baraduke and Mr. Driller's version of Baraduke. In the original arcade game, Kissy is a member of the Space Border Patrol as opposed to the UGSF. She also has a partner named Taki, who is not alluded to anywhere in Mr. Driller and who would go on to star in her own game, Bakutotsu Kijūtei, which has also never been referenced in the Mr. Driller game. After the Dig Dug incident in Tokyo, the Pukas and Figures were taken for further study in a protected zone on the southern island. For unknown reasons, however, in 1983, they suddenly go violent and Taizo is once again called to solve the situation. This event became known as Operation Southern Island. Also this year, on July 7th, Taizo and Masuyo's first son, Ataru Hori, is born. Later, on March 3rd, 1987, their second son, Susumu Hori, is born. And finally, on May 5th, 1990, their third son, Taiyo Tobi, is born. Let's talk about Taizo and Masuyo's children. Ataru was enrolled in a drilling academy where he became friends with George, and the two exchanged scarves as a sign of their friendship. Ataru graduated at the top of his class, but for some reason hated his father so much that he refused to claim his driller's license and ran away from home to become an unlicensed illegal driller. During that time, he meets Uzagi. Uzagi was an advanced scout for the Uzagi Army, the solar system division of an evil intergalactic empire stationed in the Earth's moon. One day, he was sent to Earth on a meteor-esque spaceship but crash-landed and was rescued by Ataru. After being shown kindness by an Earthling, he decides to postpone the Uzagi Army's plans of world domination in order to study the planet for a bit longer. While we don't know exactly when Ataru disappeared, Susumu was young enough for it to have no memory of Ataru existing until way later in his life. Susumu, inspired by his father, also wished to become a driller. He enrolled in a drilling school called Horisugi Academy and endured a rigorous training routine, and in that time, while running a 10-kilometer marathon around the Arakawa River, found an abandoned pup inside a box. He decided to adopt him, but it wouldn't be until they got home that Susumu found out he could talk. Here's a brief recap on Pucci. Pucci is a genius dog and a descendant of Pochi, the dog from the Hanasaka Jisan, an old Japanese folktale about a dog who brought fortune to his owners but was killed by a jealous neighbor. Pucci seems to have inherited the same abilities as Pochi of detecting buried metals beneath the earth. In the story, the dog found a box of gold coins buried beneath the couple's garden. His origins are a bit elusive in general, and he's also kind of a jerk, but he and Susumu do love each other. After graduating, Susumu became a full-time driller. I should specify that drillers are basically just civil engineers in this world, working in areas like disaster relief and infrastructure development. Child labor runs rampant in the Mr. Driller universe, you see. Finally, Taiyo Toby, inspired by his older brothers, wanted to become a driller too, but suffered from severe claustrophobia and couldn't follow that dream. Instead, following his mother's advice, Taiyo pursued becoming a pilot, earning a pilot's license at the age of 5 and becoming qualified to pilot basically anything that flies. With that out of the way, let's talk about Taizo and Masuyo's marriage. Well, Masuyo, somewhere along the line, retired from the UGSF to become a housewife, picking up writing in her free time and becoming a fairly prolific author. Taizo did not make such compromises to raise his children and continued his job. This became an issue since he would often spend long stretches of time away from his family. Eventually, the two made the decision to separate, with Masuyo taking Taiyo and moving to another house in Endagawa Ward, which is where they lived. I say separate and not divorce because, as far as I can tell, they're still technically married. Taizo has gotten better about this and makes sure to come home at least once a week now, meeting up with Masuyo, and the two are seemingly still in love. So that's good, right? Susumu's still a little shaken up about it though. The years have passed and it's now the year 1999. When mysterious colored blocks begin to flood the city of Tokyo, Japan's #1 driller Susumu is called to resolve this crisis. The source of the blocks has been narrowed down to 1,000 meters beneath the earth, and it's up to Susumu to get there. Tokyo is a bit of an unlucky city. Susumu manages to get there and finds the blocks are actually the fruit of an underground society known as the Undergrounders, who clumsily overproduced it and led to the overflow in Tokyo. After a bit of yelling by Susumu, the Undergrounder King agrees to shut down production and the city is saved. Hey, there's Taiyo. He didn't have a unique design back then, but it is supposed to be him. Regardless, this event is dubbed the Block Overflow Incident of 1999 and gave drillers a boom in popularity. Susumu became pretty famous after this, famous enough to earn an obsessive parasocial rival of his own. Meet Anna Hottenmeier, a German girl who attended an elite drilling school after her mother, both of her parents went missing in a cave-in. She was stationed in a luxurious building in Azabu, Tokyo, by the association and even gained her own robot-made Challenger Z, a robotic driller prototype made by Dr. Z back at a driller lab. 6 months later, now in the year 2000, more block overflows happened, this time all over the planet, that is, India, America, and Egypt. Susumu rises to the occasion as well, but Anna wants to prove herself the better driller and competes with him. So it devolves into a race to see who can get to the Undergrounder King first and stop the blocks. We don't know who canonically won, but it doesn't exactly matter. Anna's still competitive either way. The two become pretty close friends after this. Here's a little bit of information. Susumu is a little scatterbrained and generally stupid, so he doesn't know Anna is a girl and thinks she's a boy despite her telling him several times her gender. He also thinks that Hollinger Z is Anna's mom somehow. Anna, meanwhile, has a secret repressed crush on him that she refuses to acknowledge. Another year passes and, in the year 2001, another block-related crisis hits the world. First, in Tokyo, when Susumu and Anna head to the driller lab to have a driller race, a block overflow hits the city and Susumu is sent to solve it. At the bottom, he meets Q-Sark, a member of the elusive Dark Drillers and the one who orchestrated the flood. Susumu manages to stop the block production and get back home, but the incident stays in his mind. He can't help but fear that there's more on the way. A week later, Anna travels to New York to meet up with her friend from drilling school, Shida Mongray, an extremely rich girl who, despite earning her driller's license, became a model instead. Shida takes Anna to a party, but another block overflow hits New York, and Anna heads to solve it herself. This time, she meets Egori Hatakeyama, or Tiara, another dark driller. After she loses a race, Tiara reveals that the Dark Drillers are being paid by one Dr. Manhole to pull off these attacks. Anna has to head back to Tokyo to report on this, and so she and Shida say their goodbyes. Meanwhile, block overflows were also occurring in Egypt, which Susumu was supposed to check out. Taizo bursts in and takes the job instead, however, because he is fixated with camels and wants to go see some. He's a simple man. In Egypt, he meets Kawasu, a rather kind dark driller and a big fan of Taizo, who explains to him that the key to stopping the block-producing machine was split and hidden inside 2 shrines. Taizo also encounters his estranged son Atero here, who also got a request to investigate the blocks and is forced to cooperate with his father. Atero does not like his father very much, as previously established. I love their dynamic. On the surface, Atero holds much disdain for his dad, but secretly, he can't help but love him somehow. It's a complicated thing. Once Taizo and Anna are both back to report their findings, Dr. Z finds out that Dr. Manhole is involved and explains their history together. He also receives a report about a new kind of dristone in Russia and sends Susumu and Pucci to investigate. I kinda don't feel like getting into dristones right now, but it's mostly a gameplay thing, so don't worry about it. In Russia, the duo meets Tony Kirk-Karnovsky and the Chinese driller/circus performer Renka Ho. After Susumu and Pucci find the gold drillstone, they encounter the dog drillers again, who take Pucci hostage and force Susumu to beat all three of them in driller races in order to leave with his dog and the stone. Susumu wins, of course, and gets to go back home. Back at the lab, Dr. Z's analysis shows that heat can induce the gold drillstone to release a massive explosion, making it dangerous were it to fall in the wrong hands. Of course, that's exactly what's happening as Dr. Manhole reveals his plan directly to the drillers. He plans to send a self-propelled drill into the Earth's core and trigger various volcanic eruptions to destroy the world. He challenges Susumu to try stopping him at the North Pole, and Susumu takes that challenge. Pucci forces him to promise he'll come back alive. Inside the drill, Manhole tries to offer him safety as to watch humanity die together since they're clearly superior to everyone else in Manhole's mind, but Susumu refuses. He presses the drill's self-destruct button and accepts that he's sacrificing himself for the sake of everyone. He apologizes to Pucci for breaking their promise, and soon after the entire thing blows up. Everyone gets sad due to Susumu's apparent death, but turns out the Undergrounders managed to save him by encasing him in one of their blocks. Manhole was never seen again. 1 month later, the Dark Drillers are now jobless, and Susumu gains the title of Mr. Driller due to his heroics in saving the world, bypassing all the requirements I laid out earlier because he's a Nepo baby. But I'll let him have this one. Now that we're done with the game, let's talk about the Dark Drillers. Kyosark, the leader, descends from a long line of ninjas and his father ran a theme park called Ninja Village. Due to an economic recession, the park went bankrupt. His father collapsed from neurosis and his mother abandoned their family. Kyo decided he had enough and became a Dark Driller to take out his frustrations of the world, making sure everyone else felt just as miserable as he did. Kawasu was an android made as part of Dr. Z's android program in a driller lab. After a while, growing tired of the daily tests and experiments he was forced to go through, Kawasu decided to escape. That's how he met Kyo, who became his first friend and showed him the world. That's also how he became a massive fan of Taizo. Eguri, as a child, was bullied so bad for her name that she started to hate it and began going by Tiara instead. She's also horribly vain and in love with Hatoru, Susumu's older brother. The three are broke and live in a tiny trailer together, which is why they live in Manhole's payment so bad. We're gonna take a break from digging and talk about space instead. The Star Trigon team are an astral rescue division of the UGSF tasked with saving those who are left stranded in the cosmos. When one such alien crash happens in the Epsilon sector of the Ardenten constellation, new recruits of the team, Wataru Hoshi and Shuda Big Bang, are called to the scene. They're also accompanied by Susumu Hori, who came from Earth for training. This game has a story mode in its 2009 PC port, but it's not really canon, so I skipped it. There's not much to talk about here, so let's take this opportunity to talk about the UGSF series. It's an initiative by Namco to link a bunch of their sci-fi games to one continuous, consistent world and narrative. The world building in it is extremely elaborate, and I feel anything I say about it would be just a disservice to the effort that went and continues to go into it, so I'll just tell you to go play Shadow Labyrinth instead. But what I can talk about is how it ties into Mr. Driller. Basically, think of it like this. There's the Mr. Driller world, and there's the UGSF Mr. Driller world. One of them takes place in the real Earth through the 80s and the early 2000s, while the other takes place from 2385 to 2400. One of them is set in real-world places like Tokyo, while the other one takes place across various alien planets in Strange Real. Essentially, one doesn't necessarily affect the other, and you can enjoy both separately or together. In the UGSF world, Taio becomes a UGSF pilot 200 years in the future in Starblade Operation Blue Planet, and Taizo and Masuyo have a fourth child named Tsukushi Hori, who is an Esper. And these things may or may not apply to the main Mr. Driller world, depending on what you want to believe. Here's a fun fact. Mr. Driller G was originally intended as a finale to the series, but Nintendo got their pesky hands involved, and so Namco had to make 2 new games for the series that use the GameCube GBA connectivity features, which is how the next 2 games I'll talk about came to be. After Dr. Manhole's attacks, a mysterious organization known as the Fluid Foundation began working in collaboration with the Drillers Association and the Underground Kingdom to create the world's first entirely underground theme park, Drillland. The project was expected to take 2 years, but was done in just 6 months thanks to the Fluid Foundation's Crabomatic. Soon, the park was open and the Driller team was invited to its inauguration, with them being celebrities and all. Each one got to try out the park's various attractions, though Pucci is skeptical of its producer Fluid the entire time. The Dark Drillers are also working here, so it's nice they got a job, I think. After they go through every attraction, Fluid reveals himself as secretly Manhole all along and explains that the park was simply part of his plan to kill everyone inside and cause irreparable damage to the surface by striking a tectonic plate right under Geofront, the park's location, with another drill. Susumu volunteers to stop him and is almost forced to sacrifice himself once again, but figures out a way to reverse the drill before it reaches its destination. With Fluid out of the way, the Dark Drill is once again jobless and Drillin continues operation without his involvement. It was probably a PR disaster for Taizo though. Dr. Z has discovered a new microorganism which he called the Pacteria. I say microorganism, but they're 3 cubic centimeters in size, so they're not actually that small. He believes they're responsible for eating the fragments left behind by blocks when they are drilled and calls Susumu to tell him about this discovery, as well as to help him in researching about these beings. So he gives him a new suit and drill and tells him to take a Pacteria with him to go help Professor Horiguchi at the newly discovered ruins of Tridorado. Susumu helps him dig through these ruins and uncover their secrets, fitting the Pacteria with block fragments along the way and uncovering various ancient depictions of Pacteria. Apparently, they were once revered as gods and seemed to regulate the earth in times of crisis. During the Ice Age, it was a fiery Pacteria who melted the ice. During a terrible drought, it was a watery Pacteria who brought back the rain. It appears that they act whenever nature finds itself in an imbalance. While Susumu makes these findings, Dr. Z is working back at the lab to bioengineer a Pacteria that can eat, rather than tiny fragments, entire blocks at once. This would effectively solve any future block overflows without any effort in his mind, but it wasn't meant to be. At the bottom of the last side, Valkyrie's Ice Cave, Susumu finds the enlightened drillstone, said to be an ancient treasure. Just as he finds it, Dr. Z calls him from the laboratory and tells him that the Pacteria he was bioengineering went berserk. Susumu hurries back, and his Pacteria fuses with the drillstone to evolve into its ultimate form, borrowing the energy of all the Pacteria around the world to restore balance like they always have. This, of course, involved its own sacrifice, which leaves Susumu very sad. But it left an impact on the world and in his life, and that legacy lives on with a new Pacteria. Susumu has become extremely popular in recent years. He's practically everywhere, and Taizo's become upset at his own irrelevancy. When an official of Horinesia, a nation seemingly close to Japan, calls requesting for Susumu's aid in their latest crisis, Taizo jumps at the chance to help them himself instead and regain his popularity. Susumu and Pucci follow right behind, of course, afraid that the old man might hurt himself. The issue is rather familiar to him. Pukas and Figures have suddenly awoken and are attacking Horinesia's excavation teams. Taizo eventually finds out this is the fault of the Undergrounders, who have been preparing a party and waking up the monsters through the heat of their stew. Eventually, all the problems are solved and Taizo becomes popular again. He's still not satisfied, but it's a start. In the secret ending, Masuyo shows up angry at him for missing their weekly meeting. Susumu, Anne, and Hollinger Z are off for a vacation in the southern island, but it's interrupted by another block overflow threatening the marine life in the area. Of course, the three decide to help by drilling the blocks. I kinda omitted the mission driller modes of Mr. Driller G and A for simplicity, and there's an infinite number of other miscellaneous details I didn't mention as well because I couldn't find a way to fit them in. But I hope I got you interested in Mr. Driller. If this video made you want to play a Mr. Driller game, you should purchase Mr. Driller Drillland's Remaster, which is on most modern platforms in Steam. It's one of the best games in the series and one of the few that's actually in English, so it's much more accessible than the rest. I also recommend you check out the digdag/Mr. Driller wiki I run on digdag.mirahees.org, which I will link in the description. It's still new, so it's missing a lot of articles, but it's in process. If this video does well, I might do more Mr. Driller videos, or maybe I'll make videos on some other properties I like. Either way, thanks for watching.